can be controversial. Can be political. Genealogy is going to be a recurring theme, and you're going to start getting into some genealogy. Why does genealogy matter? It doesn't matter. As we talk about now, I'm going to try to combine what's happening in the world today with things that happened in the past, and then way back in the olden times, in the days of the Israelites, the Jews. I'm going to try to tie all that in together to see what Israel, when it got established, how it got established, how it's worked all the way to present day, to what's been on in the TV in the last 2 or 3 weeks. We're not going to get into Revelation or the apocalypse or anything like that. We're not really going to get into politics. But do governments deal with politics? Government is politics. Right. Okay, and that's kind of a tricky question. But if you're a Christian, are there Christians in the U.S. government? Do they have to deal with politics? The military. You saw the military. They had this big meeting with all the generals and everything. I'm a general. I don't have to do that. Is there politics involved in that?
Everybody has a boss.
No, they don't. No, you're right. And let me just say this. Jerry says everybody's got a boss. And when you hear me go back to Jerry and say, no, they don't, it's not to Jerry, but there's people attitude, they don't have a boss, right? I don't need a boss. I can do my job. Right? There's some people. There's some of them that may be out there sitting there this morning. I'm looking way in the back over there. Never mind. She's not looking back. But anyway, so what we're going to talk about is the purpose of a king. Israel. If you paid attention to politics, you pay attention to world events in America, what kind of protest, I'm going to narrow it down, what kind of protest occurred in the United States last week? No kings. We're not going to get into the politics. But no kings. People are saying no kings. No kings where? In the White House in America. Is a king a good thing or a bad thing? Have you even thought about it? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't, maybe you don't even care. But there are people protesting no kings. I don't want a king. I don't want a king. They don't want a ruler. Okay. Let's go back, and I don't know if there's any history teachers or anything in here. When was the United States became the United States? We'll go with 1776. And let me ask, this is a basic question. Most people get it wrong. What kind of government does the Americans have, United States? Constitution, what? A republic. It's a democracy, but it's a Republican form of democracy, all right? People will say democracy. It's true, but it's not a true democracy, because in a true democracy, everybody gets to vote, and everybody has to vote on everything that comes up. The United States, with a nation of 300 and 400 million people, and you all had to vote, are you going to make every vote? You're not, all right? So the Founding Fathers, those were some smart little characters. The first president was who? Y'all know this? Did George Washington want to be the president? What did they want to make George Washington to start with? A king. Why was the United States founded? To get away from the king. Have you ever thought why you have the King James Version of the Bible? We're not going to get into that. But can kings dictate what churches you go to? King James. and other religions. All right, so a king In y'all's mind, is king a good thing or a bad thing? Or do you even care? Is a king a good thing or a bad thing? What? It could be either way. It depends on the individual, right? When the Israelites, when did the nation of Israel exist? When did they, and this is a basic question, but sometimes if you don't think about this stuff, I'm glad you didn't ask me that. That's what Dan says sometimes after class. I'm glad you didn't ask me that question. When did the nation of Israel become the nation of Israel? We see Israel today in 2025 going through all that stuff. When did the nation of Israel, 1948, where did they trace their roots from before then? Was there a nation of Israel before then? When they went into the promised land. All right. So when they went into the promised land, who was leading them? Okay, you remember Moses, could he go into the promised land? All right. So who led him into the promised land? Joshua. All right. They became the nation of Israel as a nation when Moses received the law and everything was codified. Is it codified or codified? Max says he don't care. He's not in court. So the nation of Israel started way back when I'm not into get into 3300 BC. I'm not into that. Basically, when Moses came off the mountain with the law, they were the nation of Israel, or they became the nation of Israel. Who led the nation of Israel? Moses to start with, right? Could Moses handle 1 million plus odd people? You're mad at your neighbor because their apples keep falling off their apple tree into your yard. You think you got shorted $33 from the sale of your sheep. You didn't get paid for babysitting purposes. Who deals with that? Huh? I can't hear you. Judges. No, were there judges when Moses was over the nation of Israel? His father-in-law, whose name was Jethro, said, "Hey, dude, come here." I'm paraphrasing. Probably come and say, "Yo, let me talk to you. You can't continue to doing because I see you wearing yourself out. You got to appoint people over thousands and hundreds and all that other good stuff and hear it, and you deal with the Supreme Court." And that sort, I'm paraphrasing, of course. And what do you think Moses' reaction to that was? Whew. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jethro. You're a good father-in-law. I'll see you next month, and we'll split a lamb together. All right, so Moses was the one. Joshua, purpose of the king. We're talking now about Israel's first king. Before Israel had it, who was Israel's first king? Saul, okay. From the time they left Egypt to King Saul, what was that period of time? 300-400 years. You can read it someday. It's 300 to 400 years. How was Israel a nation? Because they're living in the promised land. Who ruled over Israel? God. What was the man government?
There was patriarchal and then judges. The patriarchal is what you were talking about before, Jethro, like that.
No, you're right. We talk about the 3 ages of dispensation, which were what? Patriarchal, which was first, the Mosaical, which was second, and the Christian. So the patriarchal, we transitioned somehow under the Mosaical to the. You're right. I saw a hand back there in the back. I'm sorry? No, we're talking so that her property don't interfere on my property. Elders and fathers, genealogy, but on a bigger scale, what did Israel have that represented God? Judges. All right? Judges. I guess that's a roundabout say, well, we're talking about kings. Well, sometimes you got to understand where you got to where we got, if that made sense. All right? So you got Moses and Joshua, and then God came up with Judges, who was the spokesman with God. Let's go turn to 1 Samuel chapter 7. I'm going to read a couple verses. You can listen or you can read along. 1 Samuel chapter 7, verses 15 and 17. And Samuel judged Israel all days of his life. He went from year to year on a circuit to Bethel, Gilgal, Mizpah, and judged Israel in all those places. But he always returned to Ramah, for his home was there. There he judged Israel, and there he built an altar to the Lord. All right, so what does it say? And this, I'm being redundant. When Samuel judged Israel, what does that mean? He made decisions? Legal decisions. He had a circuit. You know, back in the olden times, in the West, they had circuit judges. What was a circuit judge? They rode, it'd be, well, Max, you're in the judicial field, but I don't know if you, are you in a circuit? What counties do you cover? Okay, so 3 counties. The Chattahoochee Judicial Circuit, I think, has 5 counties in it. So the judges, we have one judge, but he's responsible for those 5 counties. That's why sometimes they go around, that they used to ride in the horsey days, and that's why some of you are not going to know. Y'all, I asked this at work one time. Y'all know who Clint Eastwood is? 90% of my soldiers said, I don't know who Clint. How can you not know who Clint Eastwood is? Remember in Hang 'em High? He's in prison. They're waiting for who to make this circuit around? The marshal or whatever it was, the federal. That's what you had. He went from city to city to city collecting stuff up. But I digress. But that's what Samuel's doing. So what was the answer to that? His sons weren't acting right. You could read that. People were starting getting antsy. Now, the time from Moses to here is about 300 to 400 years. So judges have been filling in. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 8, and I'm going to basically from 4 to 22, I'm going to hit certain verses. I'm going to go kind of quick so you can listen or follow in. If I skip verses, then I'll tell you what verse I'm in. Then all the elders of 1 Samuel chapter 8, starting in verse 4. Then all the elders of Israel gathered together, and here we're talking about, y'all mentioned it, elders, the people in charge of their family clans or their whatever it is you want to call them, came together to Samuel at Ramah and said to him, look, you are old and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all nations. So what is Israel asking for? A change in the way they do it, because everybody else got a king. Mom, everybody else got a cell phone. Dad, everybody else got a truck when they turned 16. All right? So they're starting to ask for a king. It looked like the system had worked pretty well up until this time. Verse 6, but the thing displeased Samuel when they said, give us a king to judge us. So Samuel prayed to the Lord. Let's listen to what the Lord said. And the Lord said to Samuel, heed the voice of the people in all that they say to you. For they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them, according to all the works which they have done since the day that I brought them out of Egypt. Now remember, he took them out of Egypt. Do you think people remembered that? Do you think there were some people that were alive that had left Egypt that are still there? Verse 9, now therefore heed their voice. However, now God's going to give them a warning. And this is where we get into the kings, and do we want a king, not a king? Are kings free? Where do they live at? And castles, right? With big moats. What was stolen from the Louvre last week? A lot. Whose jewelry? The king and the queen of France's jewelry. Over what, $100 some odd million? Where did all them jewels and that crown, where did all that stuff come from? Well, let's find out. Now, therefore, verse 9, however, you shall solemnly forewarn them and show them that the behavior of the king who will reign over them. So Samuel told all the words of the Lord to the people who asked him for a king. Verse 11, and he said, this will be the behavior of the king who will reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them for his own chariots and to be his horsemen, and some will run before his chariots. He will appoint captains over his thousands and captains over his 50s, will set them to plow his ground and reap his harvest, and some to make his weapons of war and equipment for his chariots. Am I emphasizing a certain word? What word? Oh, okay. He will take your daughters to be perfumers, cooks, and bakers, and he will take the best of your fields, your vineyards, and your olive groves, and give them to his servants. He will take 1/10 of your grain and your vintage, and give it to his officers and servants. And he will take your male servants, your female servants, your finest young men, and your donkeys, and put them to his work. He will take 1/10 of your sheep, and you will be his servants. And you will cry out in that day because your king whom you have chosen for yourselves, and the Lord will not hear you in that day. Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel, and they said, no, but we will have a king over us, that we may also be like all the nations, and our king may judge us and go out before and fight our battles. And Samuel heard all the words of the people, and he repeated them in the hearing of the Lord. So the Lord said to Samuel, heed their voice, make them a king. And Samuel said to the men of Israel, every man go to his city. Kings come with a price. Where is that price? Where do you get it from? Does Washington, D.C. come with a price? How do you pay for that? Taxes. All right? America was founded tax without representation. The king can come in and say, I want whatever it is, and you've got to do it. All right, here there's supposed to be some voting and the people and the representatives and all that good stuff. But that's where the kings come from. So in this case, was kings a good thing or a bad thing? God wasn't happy with it, was he? But he allowed him to do it. This is a thinking question. You can say something if you want to. If God really didn't want us to have a king, why did he allow it? I can't hear you. Choice. Because did he make robots? He made free people with free minds. Goes all the way back to Adam and Eve. All right. So there we got the king. He did. But the people, we all know more than mom and dad. We all more know than God, right? What are the attributes of a king?
Well, a good one. I mean, he's going to do things that represent the people and what's best for the people. But many of them weren't that way. Most of them weren't that way.
Okay.
And he's looking for God's will and for the people.
Okay.
But you got so much pride, it don't work anyway.
When you got so much pride. What was one of the things that God looked for in choosing this first king? You can agree with it or disagree with it, but we're fixing to read it. Well, we ain't talking about their heart. That's eventual. Let's read 1 Samuel chapter 9. Let's read verses 1 and 2. There is a man of Benjamin. There's that genealogy again. Whenever they mention genealogy, it means something. And the next topic after this one, I don't know if we get to it today. Hopefully we will. I doubt it. will lead directly into the next one. He's a Benjamin whose name was Kish, the son of Abiel, the son of Zeror, the son of Bechorath, the son of Aphiah, a Benjamite, a mighty man of power. Listen in verse 2. And he had a choice and handsome son, whose name was Saul. There was not a more handsome person than he among the children of Israel. From his shoulders upward, he was taller than any of the people. All right, that's the description of the first king. Then he picks Saul. Did he talk about his heart? Did he talk about his education? What did he talk about? His appearance. They got to convince 1 million people plus that this is your king. Two things that he mentions in there. Was he beautiful or was he ugly? He was handsome. And from his shoulders upward, he was what? So we can assume he is a tall person. And he was pleasant to look at. Do we as people, now we're in the 21st century, October 26th. Do we make judgments on people based on appearance? Don't say you don't. Does appearance make a difference? If appearance makes a difference, then why did he pick Saul? This is real world stuff here. I think you can disagree with me. It's not about heart. It's not about any of that other stuff. Why did he pick a handsome, tall person? Why do you think? Why do we judge people today, Andrew?
People are shallow for one, but two, the king is the head of state. They're supposed to represent right, wrong, or different, the best of whatever that country is can offer. Or at least that's what we hope for. And so that comes with looks, talent, personality, charisma, whatever you can say, that they're going to be the ones that when they go talk to other leaders or intimidating or hold up other people that make the country represent. So you have someone who's a foot taller than everybody else and he's a good looking guy. It's like, yeah, that's who we want to represent us because that's who we are. We see us in that person. Whether that's true or not, that's a different topic, but I think, you want that, just like your football team or whatever else, you want them to be good, even though you have nothing to do with them. You're not on the field as talented as they are, but you want them to, because they represent you in some way.
Some of y'all hear that about your football teams representing you? Dan? And as you were saying that, I had something I was going to say, and I've done it. And then you threw the football analogy in there. And politics right now, races that are going on right now in 2025 that are fixing to happen. And you listen to some of these candidates from other states and stuff. There's some that are dressed real well and can talk real well, but their policies can be poison. And then you've got somebody that doesn't look all that well and can't talk very well, but his policies make sense. Who do people gravitate to? Being able to speak make a difference? Moses thought it did, because he didn't want to go to Pharaoh and said, hey, I can't speak, so he got his brother. And then we found out that really Aaron, his brother, never really said a whole lot. At least it's not recorded. All right, so appearance. So when God did this, do you think that it was easier for him and his almighty thinking to give him somebody that the people would initially like and want? Did he want Israel to fail? No. And this is me talking here. I don't think he did. So he gave them something that they all have to unify and roundabout. If I'm going to do them, they might as well do it right. Everybody with me so far? All right.
I think he gave them what they wanted.
He gave them what they wanted.
And he had told them, you don't want a king. Here's all the bad things that are going to happen when you have a king. But since they insisted that they wanted to be like everybody else around them, okay, fine. Have a king, and you're going to get the.
Here it goes.
You're going to get the exterior, and
You know,
like God would choose to look at your heart, as he did with David, instead. But you want the outside.
all right.
I do think that's one of the stark difference with David.
We ain't got to David yet.
I know, but I'm just saying, when he gives, when Samuel goes, the first thing God says is, you're not doing the same thing you did with Saul. You're not looking for the outward appearance.
Are you sure?
I mean,
If read about David and see if he doesn't describe his physical attributes.
but you know what I'm talking
I know what you're talking about. But you're right. But when you get to David, he talks about David's attributes, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, sir.
But Saul was the winner because not only was he all those things physically, but he had the right genealogy, wealthy family, et cetera, He had all kind of points.
That's right.
So it made it easy to, the fact that he was handsome was just a bonus.
Was a bonus, and from the tribe of Benjamin, because Benjamin, they talk about pretty respected. So your genealogy means something. Yes, sir.
Reading through the Old Testament a while back, I kind of compared, in my mind, Saul to the Israelites, saying they wanted meat, and they had manna, and God said, if you want meat, I'll send you meat. And he sent them meat until they were sick of meat.
So they were sick of the quail, right? Yeah, so sometimes be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. Sir.
When he anointed David, I mean, the same thing was about this physical appearance, and God told him, don't look at his stature. He doesn't see what the Lord sees, he sees what is visible to him is the heart. Well, he looked at Samuel the same way, because, and also in 1 Samuel 15, he said, this is Samuel talking to Saul, he said, although you once considered yourself unimportant, which is exactly what the Lord was, looking for. Somebody with a, humble heart. And obviously he did it.
Where are you reading from? What chapter?
15.
Okay, chapter 15. The point I'm trying to make is, initially when he brings Saul to the people, what you're saying is true. He talks about some other attributes of Saul, but initially when he's selling it on the people, he's not talking. Did he tell? He may have. Did God tell the people or show them what you're talking about in chapter 15? Did he tell them that in verse 9? In chapter 9? Because in chapter 9, verse 15, 17, law came, and then 16, am I right? In 17, so when Samuel saw Saul, the Lord said to him, there he is, the man of whom I spoke to you, this one shall reign over my people. For the most, can you as a leader tell everybody what's going on? So God's talking to Samuel and saying some things, but go ahead, I'm sorry, finish your...
No, I mean, obviously that's what they wanted, one like everybody else had. So God, I guess picked the best choice. And plus he fits the bill, genealogy and all. But I'm saying that originally I don't think Saul, he says he was not a person that went off, the rails. Apparently he must have been a pretty good guy.
Well, I believe, now don't get me wrong when I'm saying he had to be a pretty good guy to be nominated, to be picked, don't you think?
I don't think God picked him to make Israel fail, but that's what happens when we use our own understanding.
That's right. When you go against, you think that you've got a better way. I think he's trying to pick the best man to make him succeed. And so Saul, by all means, I'm not saying was not the right choice. But what I'm saying is, by him being handsome and taller than everybody else didn't hurt. Let me ask you, military people. Have you ever met a short general?
Yeah.
How many? One. And I'm not saying anything. Generals, and I never noticed this, and I was before I retired. Generals are usually tall. Why is that? Not saying anything against their learning and their degrees and their pedigree. I'm not saying anything, and their knowledge. Most of them had to know something in order to get to where they're at.
Well, it says man looks at the stature.
Well, and when they promote people in the military, I don't know if you still have to now, you had to take a photo in a uniform and you had to turn it in, and that was part of your promotion process when you made the upper grades. I wonder why they put that picture in there. Billy? So they always can look up to? You mean that physically or spiritually? Yeah, no, they do. I mean, that's just a little comment. Majority of the generals that I know are tall. Nothing against, no. I'm just saying, next time you look. All right, I'm going to jump real quick. 1 Samuel chapter 10. All right, God is saying this. I'm sorry. Verse Samuel 10:19. But you have today rejected your God, who himself saved you from all your adversaries in your tribulations. You have said to him, no, set a king over us. Now therefore present yourselves before the Lord by your tribes and by your clans. Again, there's the genealogy. Let me see. In verse 23, so they ran and brought him from there, and when he stood among the people, he was taller than any other people from his shoulders upward. Samuel 24, and Samuel said to all the people, do you see him whom the Lord has chosen? There is no one like him among all the people. So all the people shouted, long live the king. Oh my goodness, I've heard that before. Then Samuel explained to the people the behavior of royalty and wrote it in a book and laid it before the Lord. And Samuel sent all the people away, every man in his house. So did Israel get a king? Be careful what you ask for, because you might get it. All right. Was Saul a good king? I'm saying.
At first he was.
At first he was. You want to explain that a little bit more?
He seemed to have he was thinking about the people, is what he was doing in the beginning. He actually was a leader in the beginning.
And what caused him to... He was thinking about the people, is what Richard said, and he was a leader in the beginning. Do people change over time? Can you get complacent? Football teams with certain coaches and players think that y'all have a dynasty. Then you lose a coach and it's the end of the world. What changed? I'm trying to make some biblical applications in today's world to see, maybe I can see what Israel's talking about or see what Richard's talking about. Can you be too long in one place? And the people suffer, or the king suffers, or the coach or whatever suffers, but ultimately everybody will suffer. All right, let's go to 1 Samuel 15, and we're going to talk about some things. Samuel also said to Saul, the Lord sent me to anoint you king over his people. Now therefore hear the voice of the words of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord of hosts. I'm reading verse 15, verse 1. I'm now in 2. Then the Lord said, I will punish Amalek for what he did to Israel. Now he ambushed him on the way when he came up out of Egypt. Now go and attack Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have, and do not spare them, but kill both man and woman, infant and nursing child, ox and sheep, camel and donkey. Okay, so Saul's king. Why is God got something against Amalek? Or
When they came out of Egypt, they were stragglers, older people that couldn't keep up, and Amalek would come up.
the Amorite was the ones that came up, the first nation that came up and started hitting on Israel and started picking them off. Starting with the people in the back, the stragglers and the older people. All right? Do you think God was happy with that? Genealogy, just remember that. Who did he say when they attacked it? Who did he say killed? Read verse 3. Now go and attack Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have, and do not spare them, but kill both man and woman, infant and nursing child, ox and sheep, camel and donkey. And usually that's where we get silence because nobody wants to answer that question. And I know that's what he said, but why did he say that? Let me do this, which may make it easier. He says there at the end of chapter 3, he says, kill ox and sheep, camel and donkey. Why did he say kill all that? All of them. Don't hold nothing back. Did they normally, when you go into battle, back in the olden times, did you kill all the livestock? No. What was a lot of their wealth dependent upon? On how much you owned. So if I'm going to double my horses, well, we don't mention horses there, my ox, and what were ox used for? Plowing and all that good stuff. Sheep, camels, and donkey, those were used for work. That's an asset. If I'm a king, I'm going to go in there. Why am I going to do that? I can double what I've got. That'd be like working for FedEx and being able to double all your trucks. Why did God tell him to do that?
That was his function for what they'd done. I mean, this happened like 300 or 400 years later.
That's right.
When they did that, so it's not like it was just yesterday. But he said he'd already told them that eventually this is going to happen. I want everything wiped out about it from the face of the earth.
All right.
Well, not only is it punishment, but he's still trying to teach Saul, rely on me and not,
Rely on me being God.
I'm God, you don't need a million horses.
You only need 750,000.
I also think it was a statement to the rest of the nations around. Like, hey, we're not just coming in to raid, take livestock, take things that we need. We are eliminating everything about you, culturally, genealogically, everything about you, almost burning you to the ground, trying to sell us on top, because this is our land.
Okay, you're destroying everything, absolutely. We all know when we learned the Ten Commandments, when we watched, what did we watch with Charlton Heston? What was the name of that movie? Oh, that's right, the Ten Commandments. Comes on at Easter time. When Moses got into a spat with his brother, you remember what his brother's name was? Ramses? And then, his Egyptian brother, yeah. When he was second in command, and he's building the great city. And then at the end, Moses fell out of favor. You remember what Pharaoh said to the scribes and everything?
Strike everything from everything. Strike everything from Moses' name. Everything.
And then he said, so shall it be written, so shall it be done. So what did they do? And when they say strike, what are we talking about? Strike. Erase what? And I'm trying to make the distinction of what Andrew said is if we can, that means every obelisk that was raised with Moses' name on it, they had to do one of two things. And this is what they did. They chiseled the stuff off or they tore it down. That's why you see a lot of Roman statues with their heads knocked off. Because it's a statue of Nero or whatever. He's out of, we don't like, and they get rid of it. He never existed. Washed. So you had to go back into the ancient scrolls, the ancient parchments, whatever it is you want to call it. When you literally strike, that's what he's doing. Striking Moses from anything. You ever wonder why you never see any mention of Moses? Because in the Ten Commandments, Ramses told him to do that. Just kidding. But that's what God is trying. He's striking everything from that nation because they didn't listen to God. Let's go to verse 20. Saul's gone into battle. In verse 19, why then did you not obey the voice of the Lord? Why did you swoop down on the spoil and do evil in the sight of the Lord? Remember, he didn't kill everybody. He didn't kill everything. And Saul said to Samuel, but I've obeyed the voice of the Lord and gone on the mission of which the Lord sent me and brought back Agag, king of the Amalek. I have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. But the people took of the plunder, sheep and oxen, the best of the things which they should have utterly destroyed in sacrifice to the Lord of your God in Gilgal. So what is Saul trying to justify to God the people did? Holding back for what? For whose gain? Well, when you say his, you talking about Saul or for God's gain? He says it's for God. That's the point I'm trying to make. I think he's trying to tell God, I did it for y'all, for you. But is that what happened? All right, we'll try to finish up because the next one. Remember King Agag. Thank you.